This is Hollywood and CBS bringing you the second program in Columbia's new series, Forecast. From Hollywood, Forecast presents Frederick March and Florence Eldridge in The American Theater. Mr. March.
Ladies and gentlemen, the series of broadcasts of which tonight's program is intended as an example proposes to bring to the air the great novels, short stories, and plays of American life. The best work of the finest American writers who have taken America itself for their theme. In these doubt-ridden, feverish days, Americans are turning more and more, we believe, to an examination of their past, to find strength and courage for the future. And they are finding in that past new, rich sources of drama and romance. And so to the common men and women who built freedom here in this country, we who now must defend that freedom dedicate the American theater.
And the American Theater presents, as its first performance, a radio version of a novel known to and well loved by 4 generations of Americans, The Gentleman from Indiana, by Booth Tarkington, starring Frederick March and Florence Eldridge, adapted and directed by John Houseman.
And so this evening, we invite you, citizens of a vastly complicated and dangerous universe, to join us now for a little while in a happier time and another place. Midland America at the close of the 90s. America in the age of innocence. We ask you to sit with us on the steps of an elderly red brick courthouse in Carlow County, Indiana, toward evening of a long-vanished summer's day.
7, 8, 9, 10. Came in strong on that one, didn't he? 11, 12, 13. That means it's 10 of 6, and Henry's getting ready to go home to supper. Henry's our bell ringer here in Platteville. He's mighty proud of that bell of his. That's the reason he throws in those extra strokes. Matter of fact, that's the way all of us feel here in Platteville. Mighty proud of the things we have. Take the county courthouse across the square. We're proud of that. And Judge Briscoe, we're proud of him. And Lige Willett, he's the best rabbit shot in Carlow County, and we're proud of him. Still in all, the thing we're the proudest of here in Platteville is a young fellow by the name of... Well, down in Washington in the House of Representatives, they'll be calling him the Gentleman from Indiana. Here in Platteville, we've always called him John. John Harkless.
Mr. Harkless?
That's my name.
I'm Rodney McCune.
Oh, how do you do, Mr. McCune?
Mr. Harkless, for the past 6 months, your paper's been attacking me.
Yes.
You're from the East, aren't you, Mr. Harkless?
I am.
Well, that's all right. I have nothing against men from the East, but being a stranger here, there are a few things you just don't understand, Mr. Harkless. Now, if you'll let me explain...
You don't have to explain, Mr. McCune. I know.
What do you know?
I know that for the last 15 years, you've been running this part of the state. Well, you've done not a very good job of it. The men you've picked have been incompetent and dishonest. You've bought, threatened, and cheated every inch of the way. And now, Mr. McCune, you're through.
Through, am I? What
Yes,
makes
Mr. McCune, you're going to retire.
Retire?
For a very good reason. Parker.
Listen, if you think for one
Parker.
minute...
You call me Mr. Harkless?
Parker, I want you to witness a verbal contract between Mr. McCune and me. You see these papers here in my desk?
Yes, Mr. Harkless.
These papers are copies of the records of a streetcar company that obtained a charter while Mr. McCune was in the state legislature.
You give me those papers...
Oh, no, you don't. In consideration of our not printing these papers, Mr. McCune agrees in general to retire from politics. And he particularly agrees not to oppose the nomination to Congress this fall of our candidate, the Honorable Kedge Halloway.
Kedge Halloway.
The Honorable Kedge is a stuffed shirt, but he's honest. Mr. McCune is not. Now, in case anything should happen to me...
Something will happen to you, all right, Harkless. You can bank on that. You just...
Don't threaten, man. Just get out of politics. Go home to your wife, and I'll give you 3 to 1 she's glad you're out of it.
And I'll give you 3 to 1 that if you spend another 6 months in this county, the Whitecaps will get you. And I guess you know who they are. Good day, Mr. Harkless.
Well, so that's how it happened, word for word. And I should know because I was there in the room with him. Oh, I forgot to tell you, my name's Parker. Joe Parker, compositor and printer. And I was the first man John Harkless hired when he took over the Platteville Herald. Then, when he started to publish twice a week, he took on Old Man Fisby. I never did understand why he hired him. That's the kind of a thing John Harkless was always doing. Anybody that was down and out and needed help, he... There, I'm getting ahead of my story. There's nothing a Hoosier likes better than a good, hot election meeting.
I pledge myself, I, Kedge Halloway of Carlo County, Indiana, to promote the welfare and progress of this beautiful county, this great and prosperous state, and above all, this glorious nation of ours, the United States of America. I thank you.
That's a great speech.
And the way John Harkless introduced me.
Yeah, that's the part I liked when John Harkless came out and said...
Oh, look, Dad. There's John Harkless.
Hey there, John Harkless. Mr. Harkless.
Oh, you calling me, Judge Briscoe?
Yes, come over here a minute, young fella. We want to congratulate you. That was a great meeting.
Why, thank you, Judge. Good evening, Miss Briscoe.
Mr. Harkless, I want you to meet a friend of my daughter's who's visiting us.
Helen, may I present Mr. John Harkless, Miss Helen Sherwood. How do you do?
I'm glad to meet you.
Helen and I were at school together in the East. I do hope you'll come out to the house, Mr. Harkless, while she's here.
Thank you, Miss Briscoe. Thank you very much.
Why not make it tonight, Harkless?
Oh, thanks, Judge. I'm afraid I can't. This is Thursday. I have to get the paper out.
Maybe tomorrow, then.
Yes, maybe tomorrow, yeah. If you'll excuse me now, I have to get down to the office. Good night, Miss Briscoe.
Good night.
Judge.
Good night.
Fisby.
Good night,
Good night,
sir.
Miss. Good night, ma'am.
Good night, Mr. Harkless.
Who's with him tonight, Fisby?
I don't believe anyone is, Judge. He'll be in the office most of the night.
Well, that's all right, then. We better be getting home.
Mr. Fisby, what did you mean just now when you asked who was with Mr. Harkless tonight?
I meant who was watching him.
Watching him?
Yes, he has a habit of taking long walks by himself in the evenings. We try to keep an eye on him. He's been shot at from the woods.
Shot at? Why would anyone do that?
Because most places there are some folk who think they can run things by violence for their own selfish ends. Right here in this county is McCune and the Whitecaps.
The Whitecaps?
Well, that's what they call themselves, Rod McCune's gang of thugs. Down at the crossroads, they're what John Harkless has been fighting ever since he got here. And if they could get him out of the way...
Out of the way? You mean...
He means murder, miss.
And it wouldn't be the first murder they'd done.
Well, doesn't Mr. Harkless know that he's in danger?
Yes, he knows, but he goes right on and he won't even carry a gun.
He must be a very brave man.
He is that, miss.
Perhaps you'll see him again tomorrow, Helen, if he comes to the house.
I don't think he will come. He seems to be a very busy young man. Didn't you notice just now when he said good night? He wasn't even interested enough to remember my name.
Helen, that was lovely.
That was fine playing, Miss Helen.
It sure was, Miss Helen. It's not often we hear music like that in this part of the country.
Thank you, Judge. Why don't we go outside? It's a shame to stay indoors on a night like this. It's wonderful. So still. And everything is so... Look, who's that?
Where?
That man down there by the gate. Isn't that...
Oh, yes, that's Mr. Harkless. You see, he did come. Mr. Harkless? Is that you, Mr. Harkless?
Oh, good evening, Miss Briscoe.
Won't you come in?
Just passing by. I heard the music.
Well, come in, rest a while.
Oh, thanks very much, Judge, but I'm afraid that I'm...
Harkless, look out!
I saw him behind the
Get
fence.
back, all of you, into the house. Harkless, come back.
Oh, Mr. Harkless.
Harkless!
Oh, he's going to get killed.
Harkless!
Stop him, somebody.
Harkless, come
Well, if
back.
nobody else does, I will.
Helen! Helen!
Mr. Harkless, don't run so fast. I can't keep up.
What are you doing here?
You mustn't go after him, Mr. Harkless. He'll
You
kill
go back to
you.
the house.
What about you?
Will you go back?
Not without you, I won't.
We'll see about that.
What are you doing? Put me down, Mr. Harkless. Let me go. Let me go.
Well, you saved my life, I guess. Thanks. Have you forgiven me?
There's nothing to forgive. I just didn't want to see you get shot.
Well, thanks again.
What are you going to do now?
Do? About what?
About the Whitecaps.
Nothing. What should I do?
Well, you mean you'll keep on letting them shoot at you until...
Well, why not, if it amuses them?
Oh, they told me you'd talk like this. Do you laugh at everything?
I didn't laugh at your running into fire just now. You're risking your life to save a man you've never seen before.
Oh, you seem to forget I was at the meeting last night.
Oh?
I heard you introduce your candidate, the Honorable Mr. Kedge Holloway.
Well, I certainly don't understand your wishing to save me.
Oh, but I've heard other things about you.
Here in Platteville?
Yes, here in Platteville. You know, it seems to me a wonderful thing you've done. You who are brought up in the East, in a big city, to give up the world and come here to Platteville and do what you're doing for these people. To live a life so desperately dull for a man of your sort.
Dull? Afraid you don't appreciate us, Miss Sherwood. You don't realize our advantages here in Platteville. Well, look at that moon there, for instance.
It's beautiful.
Well, we own that with the best of the metropolitans. And we see more of it than they ever do. By day, we have landscapes right in the heart of the city. And trees and the open sky. Next winter, our railway station is to have a new stove for the waiting room. And heaven itself is one of our suburbs. Why, it's so close that all one has to do to get in is just die. It's only when someone comes in from the outside, someone like you. And then suddenly it seems as though...
Yes?
Well, that music you played tonight. It's hard to explain, but for a moment standing in the moonlight, hearing you play, it made me feel as though... Come on, let me take you back to the house now. Let's go before I...
What was it about the music?
Oh, Helen!
Listen.
Helen!
They're calling us.
What were you saying about the music?
Oh, it sounds foolish, I know, but when I heard you playing just now, I've only known you for an evening, only for a few hours, really, and I know I've never heard that music before. And yet I had a strange feeling that somewhere, sometime, in my heart, I had known that music before, and that I'd always known it, and that all these years I've been waiting... Promised to buy me a bunch of blue ribbon to tie up my bonny brown hair. Well, good day, gentlemen.
Why, Mr. Harkless, I do
Mr.
hope
Harkless,
that you...
there's nothing wrong, is
Wrong?
there?
No, nothing's wrong, Miss Parker. Everything's fine. Fine, Mr. Fisby. So fine, in fact, that I'm leaving the office now, this minute.
Oh, but Mr. Harkless, the rest of that article...
I'll be back in the morning, Miss Fisby.
Mr. Harkless, the layout for Thursday...
Thursday's another day, Mr. Parker. Good day, gentlemen. Good day. Oh, dear, what can the matter be? Oh, dear,
Well, what do you know? Tain't hardly noon. You don't think he's gone out of his head, do you?
Most unusual. I can't imagine what's possessed him.
Hey, look at him now, streaking across the square like a bat out of Hades. And where'd he get that hat and that pink necktie?
You know, it almost looks as though Mr. Harkless...
Hey, what's that?
Why, it's a rock.
Big as your fist.
It's got a piece of paper tied around it.
Let me see.
Here.
John Harkless. We ain't going to miss you again. You got one day to live.
There. It's over. It's all gone. The last touch of color.
Do you often have sunsets like this?
Oh, before a storm, yes. Are you cold? Shall we go in?
No, let's stay here a little longer.
Did you despise me last night for being sentimental? You see, I haven't had a chance to be sentimental for so long.
Oh, I love the way you talked about this place and these people. There's one thing you still haven't told me, though. How'd you happen to come here?
Oh, I came to this little town because I couldn't make a living anywhere else. Because I was a failure.
Oh, you expect me to believe
No,
that?
it's the truth. You see, when I first got out of college, they rather expected me to do a lot of things in the world. Great things. And pretty soon I found I wasn't doing them. First, I went to work on a big paper in the East. But there was something in that kind of life that didn't really satisfy me. And then one day I heard of the Platteville Herald, a little country weekly. You see, I had an idea I wanted to run a paper for myself, build up a small power of my own. And I'd always had a feeling that this was America, the real America. The people out in these parts were less artificial, and that they were kinder, and they tried less to be somebody else than almost any other people anywhere. So I bought the Herald. Had a little money saved up, and I handed it over, every penny of it. The man who sold it to me told me I could make the paper a daily and build up an enormous circulation throughout the county. I was very young at the time, and I believed him. See, it's sort of a dull story, really.
No, it's not. And I do understand how you felt about the paper. Why don't you make the Herald a daily?
Oh, well, someday.
What are you laughing at?
Seems funny. A girl like you telling me what...
Oh, I might have known you wouldn't take me seriously. Just because I'm a girl. Because I suppose if I were tall, it would be different. People always take tall women more seriously.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Well, all the great women of the world were small. Titania and Cleopatra and Queen Victoria, and they were all taken seriously. Why, being small is...
Stop it. Why do you have to use that word small?
Yeah, but it's the
There's
word...
one thing I can't bear is to be told I'm small. I'm not small. Everyone who isn't a giantess isn't small. I'm a great deal over 5 feet. A great deal more than that.
Honestly,
I'm just as tall as...
Oh, somebody ought to shoot me.
Oh, don't say that either. Please don't. Not even as a joke after last night.
But I ought to be shot for being
such
I
don't care what you call me. Really, I don't. I am small. And I'm a fool. You'll try to forgive me for being such a baby, won't you? You see, I have to leave tomorrow morning. And it makes me very unhappy. That's why I acted so badly. Oh, if you only knew how much
I only know one thing. That you're going away tomorrow morning. And I shall never see you again. Well, I think I'll go now.
Why do you have to go? It's not late. Why do you want to leave so soon? When I shan't see you again?
Because I don't want to hear your voice again. And have it haunt me in the loneliness you'll leave here behind you when you've gone. I'll go out the orchard gate. Please tell them good night for me. And don't you say goodbye, please. I can say it for both of us. And thank you for these few hours we spent together. Goodbye.
Mr. Harkless. Mr. Harkless. Oh, Mr. Harkless.
Who's that? What's the matter?
Judge, what time did Mr. Hawkins leave here tonight?
Must have been about an hour ago, just the storm started.
Which way did he go?
Why, Helen, she's the last one saw him. She said he went back to town.
Back to town, eh?
Anything wrong?
He ain't come into the office yet, and he ain't been home. Leeds Willett just came in from the crossroads. Says he saw the Whitecap. Whole flock of them headed west.
Headed west?
Looks like they've got him this time, Judge.
Well, that might have been the end of this story. John Harkless murdered by the Whitecaps. The bell on the courthouse tolling for the passing of his soul. But it ain't. They found him 2 days later in the freight yards of a city 50 miles away. Cut, bloody, and crushed, and half the bones in his body broken. He lay there for days between life and death, and half of Platteville was down there praying for him. Then on the 4th day, around sundown, John Harkless opened his eyes. The first thing he asked was to see a copy of that day's Platteville Herald. Well, sir, he took one look at it, and then he was out again like a light.
1 more hour to go, Mr. Parker, then we've got to go to press.
Well, Mr. Frisbee, I give up. I'm a born compositor, and I can't shift my trade. I'm run plumb dry.
Well, I've got a few items here of local interest that might fill half a column or so.
All right. We'll use them. We've got to have something to fill all this white space. Now, what else?
I could give you a few paragraphs of my own on the cuneiform inscriptions of the ancient
To
Babylonians.
save this paper, Mr. Fisby, we need more than a few paragraphs. We need a miracle.
Good morning, Mr. Parker, Mr. Fisby.
Hello, Miss Sherwood.
Why, Miss Helen, I thought
On
you
my
were...
way east, I was. But then I figured that you and Mr. Parker must be rather short-handed on the Herald, so I came back.
You mean to say, young lady, that you think you
I
could...
think with your cooperation, gentlemen, we can turn out a newspaper that Mr. Harkless will be satisfied
I'm
with.
waiting for orders, Chief.
Well, the first thing we ought to do is to dust everything very carefully. And then I think we should get out a regular market report.
Market report.
So, Mr. Parker, if you wouldn't mind going around to all the stores, to the grocers and the butchers and the tanners, and jot down how much things are, and then come right back.
Sure. I'll be
And you,
glad.
Mr. Fisby, I want you to go down to the hotel and see if any visitors have come to town.
Why, certainly.
That will come under the heading Late Arrivals. And just for today, I'll take charge of the editorials. Oh, now there's just one more thing. I don't know if Mr. Harkless would approve of a lady running his paper, especially me. So when I write to him and tell him what we're doing, I'll just have to use another name. Would you mind very much, Mr. Fisby, if I used your name?
My name?
Well, if I signed my letters to him as H. Fisby, let's say. You know, some nephew of yours from the East who's come to help.
H. Fisby. My dear young lady.
Thank you, Mr. Fisby.
To John Harkless, Metropolitan Hospital, Rouen, Indiana. Night letter, September 1st. Dear Mr. Harkless, everyone here glad to know your health continues improved. Stop. New subscriptions are coming in daily. Can safely predict our present daily circulation will be increased 40% this month. Signed, H. Fisby. To Mr. H. Fisby, Platteville Herald, Platteville, Indiana. Dear Fisby, your wire received. Entirely approve all arrangements you have made. Stop. Have only one observation. Stop. Elections are next week. Stop. Essential Rod McCune be defeated. Stop. Beginning tomorrow, please, a little more enthusiasm for Holloway. Signed, John Harkless. H. Fisby, Platteville Herald, Platteville, Indiana, September 5th. Your political editorials continue incomprehensible. Who is this mysterious unnamed candidate? Election in 3 days. McCune must be beaten. Insist you follow out my instructions. Support Holloway. Signed, John Harkless. H. Fisby, Platteville, Indiana. You are fired. Turn over Herald management to Parker. Signed, John Harkless. John Harkless, Rouen, Indiana. Sorry, can't oblige. Election tomorrow. No hope for Holloway. Don't worry. Everything all right. Regards. Signed, H. Fisby. Judge Briscoe, County Courthouse, Platteville, Indiana. Coming home on 11/15. Signed, John Harkless.
Calling into Platteville now, Mr. Harkless.
Hey, what is that?
That sounds like music to me.
Music? Well, they couldn't be through with the election.
Platteville! Platteville, that's up. Well, my boy, how does it feel to be home?
Hey, what does this mean, Judge? Is Holloway... Did McCune...
McCune left town last night in a hurry.
Well, what about the Whitecaps?
They left too, them that ain't in the hospital.
Then catch Holloway. Is the voting over? Does it mean that...
I'll tell you what it means, John Harkless. It means you're headed for Congress.
Me? For Congress?
At the convention this morning, you were
By
nominated.
popular claim, just like H. Frisbee planned it days ago.
For this homecoming gift, my friends, I thank you. And I promise you one thing. There'll be no other man in Washington so proud of the people he represents as I shall be. For to represent you is to represent America. A strong, fearless, honest America. For here in this county, in this little town, you have shown yourselves to be strong, fearless, and honest. And my friends, that fact has an importance and a meaning far beyond this time and place. There are and will be in this country other McCunes and other advocates of tyranny and violence. If our way of life, our democratic system, is ever threatened, that will be the nature of the threat. No enemy from without can ever conquer this land. As long as people like you keep it strong and fearless and honest within. Well, I didn't mean to inflict an editorial on you. Not so soon, anyway. I guess I'm just glad to be home.
Fisby, old man Fisby?
Well, H. Fisby.
Young Fisby?
Yes, young Fisby. H. Fisby. Where is he?
Young Fisby, H. Fisby. Oh, he's gone.
Gone? Hasn't he been here this afternoon?
Some of the time he was here during the parade, got out the extra.
When will he be back?
Didn't say.
Well, where is he? I've got to see him. I've been waiting to see him ever since I got in. He hasn't been near me. No one can even point him out to me. Where is he, Parker? I want to see him now.
I figure maybe you can find him out at the Briscoe place.
The Briscoe place?
Want to discharge him again, Mr. Harkless?
Discharge young Fisby? Ha, not that man. I want to give him the newspaper, if he'll take it. Hey, Fisby! 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 Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see. I was just looking through the garden. You here?
Yes, it's me.
But you told me
Mr. Harkless, will you let me stay?
Let you stay?
Will you please, will you let me help some more?
Help? I don't understand. Why, a month ago you said you were... And now you're here again. I mean, still.
Now you know why I wouldn't resign.
Resign?
Oh, Mr. Harkless, will you forgive me that telegram?
What telegram?
The one that came to you this morning.
Your telegram?
Yes.
Did you send me a telegram?
Yes.
It didn't come to me.
Yes, it did.
But there was no... What was it about?
It was signed... it was signed H. Fisby.
H. Fisby?
Yes. Now, of course, you know all that I've done. It was your doing, really. They were your ideas. It's your paper.
Now, wait a minute. You listen to me. Yesterday in the Herald, there was an editorial. An editorial about that mysterious unnamed candidate. You wrote that.
Yes.
It was about me, wasn't it?
Yes.
You said that I'd won the love of every person in Carlo County.
Yes.
Well, does that every person in Carlo County, does that mean, you, too?
I said every person, John.
Well, thank you, H. Fisby.
To Frederick March, Florence Eldridge, and the cast of The Gentleman from Indiana, our thanks and our applause. It's our hope and our belief that the radio audience of 1941 will have an opportunity to hear and to applaud Mr. March and Miss Eldridge in a long series of similar dramas in the proposed The American Theater Series. If you want to hear more programs like the one just completed, write to CBS. Your interest will make more probable the eventual broadcast of the American Theater as a regular series. The Gentleman from Indiana was adapted and directed by John Houseman. Music under the direction of Lud Gluskin. Next week at this hour, CBS presents the third and fourth programs in the current series entitled Forecast. From New York, When You Were 21, starring the brilliant new comedian Danny Kaye. From Hollywood, Herbert Marshall in Suspense, written and produced by the man who directed David O. Selznick's Rebecca, the great English producer-director, Alfred Hitchcock. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.